Hello again. So these are the three projects I'm going to do right here. Let's see here. Okay, sorry for the delay, trying to get started there. As you can see here, this one, the points for the flap are dead on. This one, you line up the line back down here, you'll find that the line for this is off by a little bit. It should be down to here, right there. It's an easy fix. Just take this and just skiv off that little extra. Just like so. And then the flap should line up right there. Now I had a video where I cut this out, and unfortunately this new camera I got for Christmas, that's why I'm doing these videos, crapped out on me. I had put in one of the batteries that came with it, and lo and behold, it didn't work out so well. Two of the batteries of the three were bad, which meant that I'm sitting there literally filming something. You rascal. This is the cat that tried to kill me yesterday, practically. This is midnight. Hey, buddy. So the black one, what I did to make the black one is what I did to do this one right here. I just took this piece, which was my original pattern, and I put it over the black piece that I had, and then just cut it to shape. And that's why this line here is also off, because this one was off. So I need to fix the black one here real quick, make sure the line matches up. It's kind of hard to do when you got a cat in your way. There we go, about right there. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to take and skiv off the edge, like so. It's kind of a cheap way of doing it, but it works. So there you go. I've got the three pieces. The next step is to basically put this in line with the where the flap's supposed to be. It's easier to do it on this one actually, because I've already got the line for it. Just like so. And I'm going to push down here a little bit to just flatten this out a little bit. It's easier to do this if you have it wet actually, but I just don't feel like getting it wet to do that. The other thing you can do is to take the flat of a hammer to try and just smooth. I don't want to get it wet right now, that's why I'm not doing that, and just sort of flatten it down like so, because when I do the design I don't want it formed already. The main reason why I'm doing this is to see how far I need to do the holes, because you don't want to put a hole on the round part right here. If you just make a line with it formed all the way down, you don't want to put a hole in the round, because then you end up with a hole you can't even use and it looks funny. So you have to do the holes calculations here. And you use an item like this. There's different ways to do it. See if I can get it really close there to show you. This basically is set to give me about a 2mm line on the side there, like so. And you just run it along the edge and it cuts the line in, just like so. Flip it over, do the other side. This I'll trim later. This one doesn't work very well, as you can see. Then I'm going to flip it over, trying not to let this thing shift. Do the same thing. Dang it, that thing is not grooving it out the way it should. Got to be careful I don't go too far. Right to there. Slide it over. It's a little bit off. I'm going to have to trim that now. Otherwise it'll interfere with that size. Where is it here? No, that's about right. There we go. Okay. Okay. So now you've got your lines from here to there, from here to there, from here to there, here to there. So that has the lines now. Same thing on this one. Now I don't have a mark for where the line on the flap should be on this one, so it usually goes right to that little spot there. I don't have a grease pencil, but I do have this, which I can use. It's for fabric, but it'll work. It didn't work. Basically, I need a chalk or a grease pencil, and I don't have one. So I'll just have to eye it. Try to get it by eye. Right about there. This one's a little bit softer, so smooth it down. Try to get it nice and smooth down a little bit. This one's a little bit more challenging because it's soft. The softer leather is a little bit harder to do this with. First thing I need to do, though, I need to get a needle and clear out the reservoir on this. That's why this thing is not doing it properly, because there's stuff that's stuck in the reservoir. And as long as that's stuck in the reservoir, it's not going to come clear. So I need to get me a needle or pin. Got a bunch of that stuff. It's not always where you want it to be. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to push the needle through the hole here to try and clear that out. And I probably should sharpen this at some point. Just haven't gotten around to it. Okay, let's make sure this is on again. Right there. Yeah, still not doing a very good job of it. If you find yourself running into a problem, like with the soft leather, it doesn't want to work, try something different. This is a little bit different approach, but you can actually push down on it, which is nice. And you just basically just draw a line on it with this. Press down and it creates a line. That's the other approach. That grooves a line. This just kind of cuts a line. So some people do one way, some do it the other way. Both are a good approach. I'm going to flip it over. Do the line to about right there. Not the best. I don't really like this method, but I don't normally use the slough leather. Normally I'm using the harder leather. Make sure this lines up with this. Okay. There we have it. I'm not even going to bother to do this one because when it's this thin, you'll cut right through it if you're not careful. Okay, so now comes the next thing in the process, and that is to punch the holes. And I'll do that on the cutting board right here. I'm going to start with this one because it'll be the easier one to do. There's my hole punch. Here's my hammer. And I'm going to start on this right here because I'm going to actually figure the holes. And when you punch it, what I normally do is if you go by this, it's too far in. You don't want to go that far in. You want to go about half the distance of that. So I normally go about 1.5 millimeters in. That's how I normally do it. So that's a good distance. And I'm going to put it right on the line, right here, making sure that I'm nice and even. And punch the hole right through, like so. Make sure you get it all the way through. And then I'm going to put this in the last hole, right here. Let's get it nice and close. I've got 6 holes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I didn't get that last one very well, but it doesn't matter, I have to do it again. I'm going to put this one in the actual hole, the last hole. So it makes sure that it's even with the next, with the other set. Pull it out. Same thing here, put this one in the last hole, like so. Pull it out. Now if you look here, I got room for one more hole there. See if you can see it. I got room for maybe one more hole. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to punch one more hole, like so. Okay? Then I'm going to do the other side, same thing. Put it in the line, and about 1.5 millimeters from the distance, from this edge here. Push it through. See, it pulls these little pieces. It actually pulls a little chunk of the leather out. Let's see if I can get it to focus. You can see that little piece of leather right there that comes out of the hole punch. So it does an actual hole. It doesn't just rip an opening, which is nice, because that's what allows the round needles to go through. Same thing here. This one goes into the last hole, and then I line it up on the line, punch it through, pull it out. Now, I should have one more hole on this one too. You want the number of holes on this side to match up. Let me zoom out so I can show you here. When you're doing this, you want these holes to be the same number on both sides. So this is what I've got here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 holes. When you're doing pattern drafting, a lot of what you do is going to be based on holes, because it's kind of hard to measure leather and factor in something like this bubble without doing holes. So I'm doing it based on holes. And I'm going to figure, I'll fold it back over like here, like so. And then what I'm going to do, I'm folding it back over to that line like I had it. And I'm going to take, where's my awl? Did I leave it inside? I'll be right back. Okay, I am back. I had to go and find my awl. Again, this is one that I haven't replaced yet. This is one of the cheap awls that came in a set of like 50 tools that you can buy for 30 or 40 bucks on, Amazon. And what I usually do is I use it until it craps out and it's no good. You can see how cheap this thing. This awl isn't even, it isn't even straight up and down. It actually is at an angle. And this thing's going to come out at any moment. This has already come off. I've had to glue it back into place. And like I say, I'll use it until it stops being effective or good, and then I'll just buy a good quality one. That's what I suggest for a lot of people is you buy your tools, a whole bunch of tools to start that are cheap, and then as one goes bad or doesn't work for you, you replace it. And then you just slowly replace the cheap ones with good ones. That way you don't have to buy a bunch of brand new tools that are really good quality to start with if you're not even going to like doing it. But over the course of a year or two, you'll slowly replace the junk ones. Just a suggestion. So I'm going to roll this over like this, put it back where I had it on both sides as I did before, and I'm going to punch this hole, the very bottom where the round is. I'm going to push it all the way through so I know where to start that next hole at. And we do it on both sides. That way when I flip it over, you'll see here, you get it really close to the camera, you'll see here a little hole that I can start with on both sides. So I can start punching the holes from here, and I do 17 holes up the side, and that way I can do 17 holes from here to there, and I'll have the same number of holes on both sides that way. So there's the hole right there. And now sometimes you'll just do both of them at once. Let me zoom out so you can see it. There we go. And that's not a bad way to go either. Sometimes you have to do that. So let me count these, make sure I don't do too many. 11, 10. So, and then I have one more hole. So this is 6, 5, 5. That puts 16. And then I do one more hole to get my 17. Do the same thing on the other side. Some people use a rubber mallet, but I don't know. I probably should invest in one, but I'm cheap. If you can't buy it at Harbor Freight for 10 bucks, then I'm like, I don't spend the money. Again, that's 6, 5, 5, and then 1 for my last hole. And that puts it 17. So there we have it. Those are the holes that have been punched. Again, this is the round, so it flaps over. You don't do the round. So I leave this opening for the round with no holes, and then when it rolls over, you got holes on both sides that you can stitch into. And you also know how far you can go with your design after that. So this is ready now for design. Now there's something else you can do, which I think is a nice touch, is to actually put holes along the edge. And I'm going to go ahead and do that just so I can show you what it looks like. It's a good thing to do if you want to stitch around the edge, just as long as you're careful to. So I'm going to groove this all along the edge, like so. This thing just isn't grooving the way it should, which does not make me happy. To be honest with you, it's never been a particularly good quality. This is the problem. This is one that I bought in a set of like 50 tools and just have been too cheap to replace it. This is more decorative than anything else right here, what I'm doing now. You don't really need to do this. And just so I don't screw up here, I am going to mark this hole for the flap. This will be hidden when you flap over. So that way I know that that's the top of I've marked the hole for the top of the flap so that I don't get it mixed up and put it into one of the other holes. So I'm going to use that hole again, and I'm just going to follow through like so. Okay. You get to a point where you got to use a smaller punch. This is the 2-prong right here. So you can do the round like so. And then I'll pick back up with the large one here. Since this is decorative, I don't need to really worry about how many holes and the uniformity of it. Just try to keep it on the line so it doesn't look all squirrely. You don't want to look like you punch the holes when you're drunk or something. It never looks good. Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to start on this one here because I'd rather this be uniform into the center. It's a lot easier to hide a lack of uniformity in the center of it than it is to hide the lack of uniformity on the edges, if that makes sense. Like so. It looks like I might be a little bit shy. So I'm going to punch one hole here, and there you go. So those are the holes for this one. That one's good to go. Now I could punch holes along here too, where the flap's going to be, but it's again, it's just decorative. And I think I'm going to do that because why not? No harm in not doing it. Again, I start this in this hole, and I follow the line, like so. And you'll see the uniformity is not exact here either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start it from this side where the edge is, and I'm going to punch it this way instead, because it's going to be a little bit off, just a little bit. So you can barely see the lack of uniformity right there on that edge. It's just right there. It's just slightly off, the distance between the holes. Okay, so this one has all the holes punched. It's ready to go. Now I'm ready to do a design on it. And that's the next step, is to determine what kind of design I'm going to do on it. Same thing with this. Since these are about the same size, the chances are if I do 17 holes and then 17 holes, it's probably going to be about the same. So I'm going to actually do that and see how it works out. You know, no harm in trying that. That line didn't really go very well. You can see that's the problem with doing that one. You just don't see the line very well. I don't like that at all, because if you don't have a line to follow, then you end up with something that looks off. So let's see if I can make the line a little better. I'm going to redo the line. Is that any better? A little bit. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start about a millimeter and a half from the front here. This leather's a little bit thinner, so I don't need to do it as harshly. If you recall, it was 3 and then 1. 3 and then, let's see, so that's 6, 5, 5, and then 1. That's 17 holes. That'll put it exactly the same size as the other one. I'll do the same thing over here. That line's not very good, fortunately. About a millimeter and a half. I'm going to do it from here because it'll be easier to line up along the edge. Make sure it's in the line if I do it from this side. Okay. The starting move is always the most important. So that's 6, 5, 5, and then 1. Okay? I'm going to do along the edge since I've got it here, and might as well. Didn't really do a thing on the edge, but we'll try it, see how it works. Okay. One of the reasons why I'm doing different ones, so you can see how the same project can be entirely different based on the material you use. It really will impact the material you use. Again, I'm starting from this hole on the edge in order to make sure that I have the uniformity. And it's close, but it's not exact. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to try to smooth it into these 2 holes, and I'm going to open them up a little bit more so it looks like it was uniform. See that? These 2 holes are a little bit too far apart compared to these, So I just open it up a little bit more with that, and it'll help with the threading. Now I got the round to worry about. A couple ways I can do this. I can do it by doing this, or I put the other pattern to it, and then just match the hole right there. Do the same thing on the other side. Match the hole right here. And then that puts the holes in the right spot for me to compensate for the round. I used to try and do this by eye. Bad idea. I guarantee you, if you try to do it by eye, you're going to end up with a line that's like curved. It looks wavy. So I did, let's see, 6, 5, 5, and then 1. That gives me the same number of holes. Okay, same thing on this side. 6, 5, 5. So that's 6, 5, 5, and then 1. That gives me the right number of holes. Okay. Fortunately, black is not going to show a marker very well. So marking that's going to be a little bit trickier. I may just have to remember the 17 holes and do it that way. Yeah, that's what I'll do. Okay, I'm going to do the line here along the edge, because it really does make it look nice. Okay. It's not a perfect science, but you know, what are you going to do? Okay, I start off in the hole right here. Again, it's going to be 17 holes from here, so I have to remember the number in order to really make sure that I don't screw it up. This line didn't really turn out as well as I would like, so I'm going to have to kind of work it based on eye a little bit here so that I get it right. This again is not necessary because it's not really going to be sewn to anything, although I could put a little liner right here and sew it, but in that case I'd have to run the line all the way across there and sew in the whole piece. I'm not going to do that. I find liners are nice and not, depending on how you look at it. They can be a real pain, actually, because liner material is like that lamb hide. It's really easy to damage it and to tear it. And if it gets damaged or torn, it doesn't look very good. So I'm going to start off here again. Do like I did before, where I run it up this way so that I end up with something a little bit more uniform. Sometimes you have to trim your piece to help with the holes looking okay. When you buy patterns, you don't have to deal with this stuff. A decent pattern literally has the holes all marked for you to actually punch. You just punch the hole and you're done. But when you're doing your own pattern, you kind of have to use a little bit of ingenuity and patience and just work it the best you can. Okay. And I'm going to end up with one hole here in the middle, like so. Okay, and then this one's done. As you can see, like so, it'll be like that. And it'll flap over this way. Like so.